Welcome back to the Cozy Rosy Crochet channel, and today I am sharing with you the fourth square from the Cable Comforts Heritage 8 to create a beautiful heirloom sampler at the heart of the Cable Comforts collection. Each unique cable crochet square showcases a different motif, from bold braids to delicate twists, designed to challenge and inspire you to create with confidence. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and of course the notification bell so you never miss out on another one of my crochet patterns or tutorials again. If you're new to crochet cables, don't be put off by how complicated they look. Crochet cable stitches are simply made using post stitches, and it's how and where those post stitches are worked that create the intricate cable patterns. Every even number in the row is just a row of US single crochets or UK double crochets, so you do get a little reprieve after each row of those post stitches. Now I will be using US crochet terms throughout this video, but you will find a link in the description box below to view the written pattern in US terms on my website, or you can opt to purchase the ebook, which is available in both US and UK terms. Now the materials that I'm using for my Heritage 8 blanket is this Stylecraft Special Aran, which is 100% acrylic, means that it is machine washable if you need it to be. And the shade I've used is silver, which is shade number 1203. This is an Aran weight yarn with a recommended hook size of 5mm, so if you do need to substitute your yarn, opt for a yarn that recommends that same size hook. I am going to be using the recommended hook size of 5mm. From a yardage point of view, each square uses between 90 to 100 meters, which is 100 to 115 yards. You're also going to need your scissors and a darning needle just to weave in any ends. I've already done mine for once. So gather those materials and let's get started on the Quilted Cables Square. I will let you in on a funny joke and share a photo that originally, when I made this, I crossed the cables slightly differently, and it reminded me of my favourite little mini waffles that I eat. So originally it was called the waffle square, but it has been renamed since I fixed the stitches. Once you've placed your loop onto your hook, we are going to start by making a chain of 33, just yarning over and pulling through the loop on your hook 33 times. So make your chain of 33. Once you've made your chain of 33, I'm going to encourage you to flip your chain over and work into your back bumps of the chain rather than into the top loop. Just makes your edging a little bit easier at the end of this square. We're going to be working one US single crochet into the second chain from hook and each chain across for the remainder of row 1. So we'll end with a stitch count of 32 at the end of row 1. So at the end of row 1, you should have a stitch count of 32 stitches, and that stitch count is going to remain the same throughout this pattern. After every row, you need to have 32 stitches. Going into row 2, we're going to make a turning chain of 1, and we're going to work into the same stitch as our chain 1, and each stitch across, working 1 US single crochet. We're going to maintain that stitch count of 32, and then we're going to begin our setup cable row in our next row of row 3. So at the end of row 2, you should still have your stitch count of 32 stitches, and we're going to go into row 3 with a beginning chain of turning chain of 1, should I say, ready to set up the first row of our cable pattern. We're going to start by working 1 single crochet into the same stitch as our chain 1, and we're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. That's 2, 3 and 4. So we should have 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're then going to make our first special stitch, which is a front post double crochet left across. So that means we're going to skip the next stitch and the next post. So this is our next stitch, this is our next post. So we've done 5 single crochets. So I hope you can see all those holes. Let me hold this differently. So we have post 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And this is the 6th stitch, and that's the 6th post. So we're going to skip the next stitch and work around that next post. So it's kind of in between the stitch after the skipped and the next. So that is our post for this stitch here. We yarn over the hook. We're going to skip that post because that counts for that stitch. We're skipping that post because we're skipping that stitch, and we're working around that one, working a front post double crochet. We're going to insert the hook at the side of the post and come out of the front. I'll show you again. So we're skipping that stitch and that post and working around that next post. In the front, out the front, we yarn over, bring our loop up, and complete our double crochet as normal. To complete this left cross, we're going to cross in front because it's a left cross, and we're going to work back around that post we just skipped. So we yarn over, and this time we're going into the side of that skipped post, pick up just that skipped post, yarn over, and complete your double crochet as normal. So we've crossed those post stitches, and we've crossed in front because it's a left cross, so the left post is at the front. For each post stitch that we work, we skip one stitch behind. So we're going to skip one and skip two because we've worked 2 stitches, and we're going to work into that next single crochet, and that is the first of 8 single crochets to be worked. So we've worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is number 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's really started to rain now. I don't know if you can hear that or not. And then we're going to work our next front post double crochet left cross. So once again, we're going to skip that next stitch and post, working around the next post. So from your last stitch, that's your last post. This is the one we're skipping, and we're working around this next post here. So we yarn over the hook, skip 1, and work around that next post, working your front post double crochet. And then the second part of this left cross, we're going to cross in front, so we're just going to fold down and work around that post that we skipped. Yarn over, we're inserting into that around that post that we skipped, and working our next front post double crochet. We make sure that we've skipped one post for each stitch. So you can see there's a stitch coming out here. We skip 1, skip 2, ready to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 8. So restarting our pattern repeat, working 1 single crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we are ready to work our next front post double crochet left cross around the next 2 stitches. We skip the next post, ready to work around the next. We yarn over, we're skipping this post and working around that next one. So that's 1 front post double crochet. We're going to left cross, so we're going to fold down to work on the front around that post that we skipped, so that counts for that one. We're working around that post there, and that completes that cross. Skip 1, skip 2, and now we have just 5 stitches remaining, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we are. And 5. So at the end of row 3, we have set up our cable patterns, and every other row is going to be easier because we're not going to be working around these posts of the single crochets. We're just going to be working around the posts that we've just made. So if you've made it this far, you can complete this square, no problem. For row 4, we're going to start with a beginning chain of 1, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across, making sure that we maintain our stitch count of 32. So at the end of row 4, you should still have your stitch count of 32, and we're going to go into row 5 for that second row of our pattern. We're going to make a turning chain of 1, and we begin by working 1 single crochet into the same as our chain 1, and we're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Now we're going to make our next special stitch, which is a front post double crochet right leaning. So that means that it leans to the right. We're going to yarn over the hook and we're going to work around that post that's behind the top of that left cross. So we're going to yarn over and you're going to pick up just that back post. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but that's the easiest way. But you definitely want the post that's in line with that next stitch. So we're skipping one and working around that post, working a front post double crochet, and then to complete our right leaning stitch, we skip the stitch behind the post and work a single crochet in line with the post we've just made. So it should look a little bit like this, and we're extending that post that was behind the front one. So you've worked our right leaning front post double. We're now going to work a left leaning front post double, and the left leaning starts by working the single crochet into the next stitch before working around that post stitch underneath that single crochet. So we're creating the bottom of our quilt here. We're going to make sure that we skip 1 stitch for that last post that we made, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. That's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We're then going to work that right leaning, so that front post double crochet right leaning. So we yarn over, we skip the next stitch, working around that post that's just tucked behind, working that front post double crochet. We skip 1 stitch for that post stitch and work a single crochet in line with the post we just made to complete that front post double crochet right leaning. We're then going to work our left leaning. So we start with a single crochet in line with that post stitch just below, and then we're going to work a front post double crochet around that post on the front, just underneath that single crochet that we worked. We're going to repeat that once more. We're going to make sure that we've skipped 1 stitch behind that post stitch, and we're working 1 single crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. I've lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And we're then ready to work that right leaning around that post. So we skip the next stitch and we're working around this post. I do struggle to pick them up properly, so I just pop the whole thing onto my hook and pick up the loop of the post. You may have to stretch out your crochet to make sure that you can see the right stitch to skip. So we're worked here, we're skipping that one and working our single crochet in line with the post that we've just worked to complete that right leaning. And then we are going to work a single crochet into the next before working a front post double crochet around there to complete our left leaning. Now that leaves us with 4 stitches to work, because we're going to skip the stitch behind our post before we work 1 single crochet into each of the last 4 stitches. So at the end of row 5, you should be looking a little bit like that. You've got a twist at the bottom, and then we're just opening up that twist to begin making those little quilted cables. For row 6, we are simply repeating row 4 with a turning chain of 1 and working 1 single crochet into each stitch across. So at the end of row 6, you should still have your stitch count of 32 single crochets, and you can see those stitches that you skipped behind. Don't worry, that's how it's supposed to look. Going into row 7, we're going to make a chain of 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet into the same as our chain 1, and then 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. We're then going to work a front post double crochet V 2 times, and that means that we're going to work our V stitch around this post here, and then around the next post there. So we're going to work the first one. So the front post double crochet V-stitch, it counts as 3 stitches. So we're going to skip the next stitch, yarn over ready to work around that post here, working a front post double crochet. The second stitch is working a single crochet into the stitch in line with that post we've just worked. So we work a single crochet into there, and then the third stitch we work another front post double crochet around that same post stitch that we worked. So you can see that we skipped 1 stitch for the first post. We worked a single crochet in line with that post stitch, and then we worked another post stitch around the same post to create that V shape, and it should have a single crochet in the middle. We're going to work a second front post double crochet V-stitch around that next post. So we yarn over, we work a front post double crochet around that post stitch. We're going to work a single crochet in line with that post stitch. Now you'll notice you've got 2 post stitches next to each other, so we actually need to make sure our double checking is going to be making sure we've skipped 2 stitches behind to work our single crochet in line with the post stitch in the previous row. We finish that second V-stitch working a second post stitch around that same post 2 rows below. So you should look a little bit like that, and it should count for 6 stitches. So we've got a post stitch for 1, a single for 2, a post for 3. That's your first V-stitch, and then we've done the same again. We have a post stitch, a single crochet, and a post stitch. Doesn't it look pretty? So we are then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Remember, you need to skip 1 stitch behind for that last post stitch you worked, and then we are working 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, and that's number 4. We're then going to work 1 front post double crochet V-stitch over each of the next 2 posts. So we're going to yarn over, insert around that first post and work a front post double crochet, skip 1 stitch and work a single crochet in line with that post stitch from the previous row. We're then going to work a second front post double crochet around that same post stitch. That completes our first V-stitch, and then we're going to work a second V-stitch around this post here. So we yarn over, insert around that second post stitch 2 rows below. We need to skip 2 stitches this time, 1 for each of the post stitches, to work our single crochet in line with that previous post stitch. And then to finish this second V-stitch, we're working back around that same post, working our second front post double crochet. We're going to repeat this once more, so making sure that you skipped that stitch behind the last post that you've worked. We're working 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. That's number 3 and number 4. So we yarn over, work our front post double crochet around that post. We're working a single crochet in line with that post stitch in the previous row. We're yarning over, ready to work that second post around that same post stitch in the previous row. Let's work that second V-stitch around that next post. We yarn over and work a front post double crochet around that next around the next post stitch. We're going to work a single crochet in line with that post stitch from the previous row. You can do a double check to make sure that you skipped 2 stitches, 1 for each of those posts. We're then going to work our final post stitch around that same post stitch in the previous row. And that should leave us with 3 stitches, because we're going to skip 1 for that last post stitch and work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. At the end of row 7, we have worked half of that quilted cable, and those V-stitches are just gorgeous, and I think they're quite fun to work. For row 8, we are simply repeating row 4 once again. So we make our turning chain of 1 before working 1 single crochet into each stitch across. So at the end of row 8, you should have your 32 stitches, and we're going to go straight into row 9 with a turning chain of 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet into the same stitch as our chain 1, and then 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. We're going to work 1 front post double crochet around that first post. So we just yarn over and work 1 front post double crochet. We're going to skip 1 stitch behind and work 1 single crochet into the next stitch on the row before we work a front post double crochet right cross. So this is just like the left cross that we did, it's just we're going to work from behind. So it's going to be worked over these next 2 post stitches, and because it's a right cross, the cross will look like it's behind, so this post will end up on the front. So we're going to yarn over and work around the second of the next 2 posts, working a front post double crochet, and then we're going to make a front post double crochet behind. Because it's on the right post is going to end up on the top. We need to work from behind, so we're going to yarn over, and this time we're going to have to come behind the post we've just worked to pick up this post here. So instead of folding down, we're coming from behind to pick up that post, a bit like that. I'll do that once more for you. So we've yarned over, we're coming from behind the post we've just worked to pick up that post, and I kind of just encourage it up out of the way to make sure I've got just that post on that hook. A little bit further away in case you can't see. Yarn over, from behind, you're coming straight down through behind that post you've just worked to pick up the post, and you've got to kind of angle it back through. It's a little bit fiddly, and then when you've got just that post, we can make that front post double crochet around or behind the previous one. So just as I said, that means that the right leaning carries on up at the front of your fabric, and this one that we just worked around is behind that other post. That was the front post double crochet right cross, which is worked behind. Now we've worked 2 posts, so that's 2 stitches to be worked, to be skipped, and then we're going to work a single crochet into that next stitch. So double check myself, 1, 2 skipped and a single crochet, and then we're going to work 1 front post double crochet around that next post 2 rows below. Just yarn over, and we're just doing a nice boring front post double crochet. So it should be looking a little bit like that, and this post that's working leaning to the right should be at the front of your work. We're going to skip 1 stitch for that post we've just worked and start our repeat again, working 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. 3 and 4. We're going to work 1 front post double crochet around that next post 2 rows below. We're going to skip 1 stitch behind for that post and work 1 single crochet into the next. We're then going to work our front post double crochet right cross. So we yarn over, we're going to work over these next 2 post stitches, and that second post is the first one we work around. So we yarn over, skip that post stitch, insert our hook under the next, and work our front post double crochet. We're working a right cross, so we're going to yarn over and work behind. So we go behind the post we've just worked to pick up that second post and angle it through, yarn over, bring your loop up, pull through 2 and pull through 2, and that completes that front post double crochet right cross. We've worked 2 post stitches, so we skip 2 stitches behind before working a single crochet into the next stitch on our current row. We're then going to work a front post double crochet around that last post stitch of our quilt. We're going to work one final repeat of this. Remember to skip one stitch for the post you've just worked before working one single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Oh, I feel like I did way too many there. Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're ready to work a front post double crochet around that first post. We're going to skip one stitch, working a single crochet in the next stitch on the current row, and we've got one final right cross to make. So we're going to yarn over, working around those 2 posts. This is the first one we're going to work around. So we yarn over and work our front post double crochet, and then we're going to cross behind for our right cross. So we yarn over, come around the post, pick up that post that we've skipped, and encourage our hook through and work that front post double crochet. We're going to skip 1, 2 stitches behind, ready to work a single crochet into the next stitch on our current row, and then work 1 front post double crochet around that last post stitch, and that will leave us with 3 stitches remaining on our current row, because we're going to skip that one for that post and work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So we should be looking a little bit like that, and these posts should be right leaning on the front. So this is on the front of your fabric and the left one is on the back. Did you enjoy that row? Maybe not, but let me know in the comments how challenging you found those working behind cables. For row 10, we are making a chain of 1, and once again repeating row 4, working 1 single crochet into each stitch across. Going into row 11, we begin with a turning chain of 1, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into the same stitch as our chain 1, and 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. That's 2 and 3. So our final special stitch in this pattern is a front post double crochet T-stitch, which is going to decrease across these 2 post stitches to make 1 stitch. So unless specified, your T-stitch is always going to count as 1 stitch on the repeat when you work back into it on the following row. I'll tell you more when we come back to that on row 13. So our front post double crochet is worked around these next 2 post stitches. So we've got these 2, because remember that one is on the front, so that's the first one, and we're almost decreasing across those 2 post stitches. So we yarn over, insert our hook around that first post stitch, yarn over, bring up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and we stop there. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook around the next post stitch, which is this one that's on the front of the fabric. We yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. So you should have 3 loops on your hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to complete that T-stitch. We're going to skip that 1 stitch behind, and then in line with that second part of the T-stitch, we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So that's 1 and that's 2. So you can see that it brings those 2 together and it counts as 1 post stitch. So when we come back, we're going to work around it almost under both the loops because there's only 1 stitch above it. Don't worry, we get to do it again, so don't worry. So we're going to work our next front post double crochet T-stitch around these next 2 posts. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook around that second post, which is the one that's behind, so it's a bit tricky. We yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. We yarn over, ready to work around that next post stitch. Yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops to leave us with 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We're going to skip 1 stitch behind because that counts as 1 stitch, and work 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So at this point we're going to look a little bit like that, and we've brought those post stitches together almost in a decrease. So the T-stitch is a bit like a decrease. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that makes us ready to work that next front post double crochet T-stitch across these next 2 posts. So we yarn over, insert around that next post stitch, yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, we yarn over, ready to work around that next post stitch, it's the one that's at the front here, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. We should have 3 loops remaining. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We're going to skip 1 stitch behind before working 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. We're going to repeat that once more. So this is your next post stitch, it's behind here, and that's the second one. So we yarn over, insert our hook around that post stitch which is just behind, yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. We yarn over, ready to insert around the next post stitch, bring your loop up, pull through 2. You should have 3 loops remaining, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We're going to skip 1 stitch because this counts as 1 post, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. For a final time, we're going to repeat that once more. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. That's 2, 3 and 4. We're going to work our front post double crochet T-stitch around these next 2 posts. So we yarn over, bring our loop up and pull through those first 2. And we yarn over, ready to work around that next post stitch. Bring your loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We skip 1 stitch behind, working a single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Ready to work our second T-stitch, and that is really hiding. So that's the post we want behind here. We yarn over, pick up that loop that's slightly behind there and yarn over to pull through 2. Yarn over, ready to work around that last post stitch, bring your loop up, yarn over, pull through 2 before we yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Just need to skip 1 stitch behind this one's worked into. We're skipping that one and we're working 1 single crochet into each of the next 2, and that should leave us with 2 stitches remaining, and we are working 1 single crochet into each of the last 2 stitches. Ooh, that was fun, but you can see that we have nearly completed these quilts. For row 12, we're making a turning chain of 1, ready to repeat row 4 once again, working 1 single crochet into each stitch across. Just going to get us to where that T-stitch was. Oh, I think that is it actually. So the T-stitch, yours like mine might be a little bit bigger in that loop. Don't worry about that. It will even out as we carry on working the subsequent rows. So if your T-stitch loop from behind is a little bit bigger than the other loops, don't worry too much about it, as long as it's not absolutely gigantic. So continue across working row 12 and I'll meet you ready for row 13. For row 13, we're going to start with a turning chain of 1. We're going to work a single crochet into the same stitch as our chain 1 and 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2 and 3. We're then going to work a front post double crochet left leaning. So we start by working a single crochet into the next stitch before yarning over, ready to work a front post double crochet around that T-stitch. So I mentioned it before, but we need to go underneath the 2 loops because they now count as 1 because it was a T-stitch. So you can see that you have that kind of bigger loop there. So you need to go underneath both loops of that stitch from the previous row, or that post from the previous row. Bring your loop up, yarn over, pull through 2 and pull through 2. So those 2 would decrease down into 1, so we need to treat them as 1 stitch. We're going to skip that stitch behind and we're ready to work our front post double crochet right leaning around that next T-stitch from the previous row. We're going to yarn over, insert your hook behind both the loops or both posts of that T-stitch from the previous row. Yarn over, bring your loop up, pull through 2 and pull through 2. Now we've worked 2 post stitches together, so we need to work our single crochet in line with that T-stitch in the previous row, so we skip each of those stitches, kind of bringing the top of that quilted look together. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 6 stitches, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And that brings us back to our next quilt, and we are ready to work our front post double crochet left leaning. So the left leaning starts with a single crochet into the next stitch, and we're then going to work our front post double crochet around that T-stitch from the previous row. So these now count as 1. Yarn over, bring your loop up, pull through 2, pull through 2. We're then going to work our front post right leaning. So we start by yarning over, inserting our hook around that T-stitch from the previous row, bring your loop up, pull through 2 and pull through 2. Skip 1, skip 2. We're working our single crochet in line with that post stitch we just worked to complete that right leaning, and then we're ready to repeat it all again. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. 4, 5 and 6. We're ready to work our front post double crochet left leaning. So we begin with our single crochet into the next, yarn over to work around that T-stitch from the previous row, yarn over, bring your loop up, complete your front post double crochet. For the right leaning, we start by yarning over and working around that T-stitch from the previous row before working our single crochet in line with the bottom of that post we just worked. So you should have skipped 2 behind for those post stitches. That leaves us with 4 stitches remaining, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So you should have closed up all of your quilts there, and you can see that we've got that gorgeous crisscross pattern in the middle. For row 14, we are going to be repeating row 4 once again, working a turning chain of 1, and then 1 single crochet into each stitch across. Make sure you've still got your stitch count of 32 at the end of this row, and then we're ready to work the final row of our stitch pattern. So for row 15, we begin with our turning chain of 1. We are then going to work 1 single crochet into the same stitch as our chain 1, and then 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. That's 3 and 4. We're then going to work our front post double crochet left cross, which is crossed in front because it's the left one. We're going to work that over the next 2 post stitches. So we yarn over, we're going to insert our hook around that second post stitch and work that first front post double crochet. We're going to yarn over and we're going to work around this next post underneath, and we're crossing in front because it's a left leaning. So we're just folding down, inserting our hook around that post and bring that loop up. So it's on the left that's leaning, so we want it on the front. We're going to work 2 post stitches, so we need to skip 2 stitches before working 1 single crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. So that's 2. We're then ready to work that front post double crochet, left leaning once again, left cross once again. We yarn over, we're going to insert our hook around that second of the 2 post stitches to work, and work our front post double crochet, and because it's left cross, we're going to cross in front. So we just fold our hook down to insert around that post that we skipped to complete our cross. Skip 1, skip 2, and then we're ready to work our final repeat, beginning with those 1 single crochets into each of the next 8 stitches. Going to work our final front post double crochet left cross. We yarn over, inserting around that second post to work our first front post double crochet. We're yarning over, working around the next post, but we're in front because it's a left cross. And then we're going to skip 1, skip 2 for each of those post stitches. We should have 5 stitches remaining, and we are working 1 single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. Oh, sorry about the squeaking. Oh dear, very squeaky today. And there we have our pattern repeat. So if you've made it this far, you know everything you need to do to make this square, and we're simply going to repeat this same pattern again. So for rows 60 to 40, you're going to repeat rows 4 to 15 2 more times, and then work 1 final repeat of row 4. Everything is time stamped for you below, and if you need it, I do have a free resource, which is my cheat repeat sheet, which I'm really struggling to say. Cheat repeat sheet. It literally gives you a tick sheet where you can mark off your rows as you work them, and because you do need to make 3 of each of these squares, there are 3 of the boxes to work, so you don't have to keep printing it out. So continue on and work rows 16 to 40, repeating rows 4 to 15 2 more times. And then of course for row 40, you are working 1 more repeat of row 4, and I'm going to meet you back here to work our edging. So welcome back. Hopefully you have worked all of your repeats. Your last row that you work on your cables should be that row 15 repeat, which is that left cross. And then you need to work 1 final repeat of row 4. So you should end row 40 with the wrong side of your fabric facing you, and then we are ready to work our edging. Our edging starts with a turning chain of 1, and then we are going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across the top of row 40. I'm going to work all the way across to the corner, and then we're going to add some extra stitches for our corner. Once you've reached your corner stitch, we need to work 2 single crochets, a chain of 2, and then a further 2 single crochets all into that same corner stitch. And then we're going to work down our row ends, but we only need to work 31 single crochets to that stitch, so we're not including that stitch there. So we're going to work into our row ends, but we're going to skip some as we do that to get that stitch count. So I usually work 1 into one row end, 1 into the next, so that gives me 2, and then I'm going to skip 1. So that's number 3, 4, and 5. Then I will skip a row end, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to skip another one. So we've got 9, 10, 11. Going to skip the next one, 12, 13, and 14. Skip 1, 15, 16, and 17. Skip 1, 18, 19, and 20. Skip 1, 21, 22, and 23. We're going to skip 1 more, 25, 26, and 27. So then we'll have 28, 29, 30, oh, and 31. Perfect. 30 and 31. So that gives us that nice edging across our row ends. Just gives us really neat edge to this square. And of course it's going to help us when we join our squares together. Where our slip knot is, we are working our corner. So I'm going to work two single crochet, sorry, and that's number 2. We're going to chain 2 and work a further 2 single crochets into that same corner. And then we're going to work across the other side of our beginning chain. If you've worked into the back bump of your chain, you will have what look like stitches. So it makes it a little bit easier to work into. And we're simply working 1 stitch into each chain, or the other side of our beginning chain, across to the next corner. When you've reached the corner, once again, we are working 2 single crochets, a chain of 2, and a further 2 single crochets, all into that same corner. And once again, we're going to work our row ends just as we did before, working 32 single crochets across the row ends back to that final corner. So in that final corner, we are working 2 single crochets, a chain of 2, a final single crochet, and then we are going to join to the top of that first single crochet that we made with a slip stitch, and we can fasten off. And there we have our completed quilted cable square. Just need to weave my ends in. This is going to need blocking. It needs a little bit of a loosen up, and obviously we have curls and we don't like curly crochet, do we? To continue on with your Heritage 8, you will need to make a further 2 of these quilted cable squares, and you can find a link in the description box and probably in the pinned comment below that will take you to the playlist that shows all of the 8 Heritage Square patterns, so that you can continue on to complete your blanket. A huge thank you for joining me. Congratulations if you have finished your beautiful quilted cable square, and I will see you in the next video.